Man, you guys want to hear something really funny? Oh man. I was literally here thinking this whole time that I was live talking for like 5 or 10 minutes right now. I thought I was live, like my whole feed on the camera was showing up on the screen and everything. And I was like, I don't notice the icon with any viewers or anything like that. It's not even up there. After a while I noticed it. I was like, wait a minute. So I was sitting here, I had a good little practice run just talking to myself. Oh man, that's the first time that's happened to me, so pretty funny. Um oh no. Um yeah, I kind of brought this video together today, I guess, to do a little bit of 49ers therapy and kind of talk about the future and hopefully get some people in here to chime in, fellow 49er fans to jump in, any other fans as well. Shit, we get some Bears fans in here, some Rams fans, whatever the case may be. Jump in, man. Let's talk about other teams as well. I don't care. I welcome it. Speaking of other teams, I want to know if you guys watched some of that Monday Night Football today. I didn't know there was two games going on today. I don't know why that happened. I didn't get to watch them, and we had pretty much two blowouts, right? One AFC blowout and one NFC blowout, right? I wish I would have gotten to watch it, but I was a little busy getting a little haircut. Yeah. Um, so the Bills, oh man, they whooped the was it the Titans? Yeah, they whooped the Titans like 41-7, and the Eagles whooped on the NFC Vikings as well, like 24-7, I think it was. So pretty much a shutout, just like the 49ers Seahawks game. Similar score. Um, I wish I would have gotten to see that game because that's NFC, and a lot of people are saying that Eagles are a team that are creeping up in the NFC to compete with teams like the 49ers, the Rams, Packers, stuff like that. Um, so I was interested in watching that, but I just didn't get the chance. So I'll go try and watch whatever I can when I can. But I don't think the Vikings are a very bad team. So for them to get their ass whooped like that, we might have something to look at with the Eagles. I know typically they lean on their running game. They like to run like a very similar um, type of game play style as the 49ers. I don't know if they want to emulate the 49ers or what's going on with that. I wonder if they get some influence from Kyle Shanahan. Because I think little by little, this winning formula, some of the coaches are trying to implement that. So I think we got to keep an eye on the Eagles, man. They might be creeping up in the NFC. Not to say they're going to be able to compete with us. I still think we can whoop their ass, regardless of who they got. I know they got what's that guy from the Titans? I'm going blank right now. I keep wanting to say Antonio Brown, but it's not Antonio Brown. I forget his name right now. The guy that came from the Titans and he got traded to the Eagles. But yeah, like I said, I just want to do a video kind of bringing everybody together, talking about how just everything's going, what we're looking forward to in the future for the 49ers. Kind of grieve a little bit, at least for me, right? I know there's some 49er fans are jumping for joy right now with the whole Jimmy Garoppolo thing. That's kind of sad. It's not something to jump for joy about when you see a young kid like this get hurt so badly. But I wanted to go over some of the injuries that were announced today. I guess that's probably a good starting point, right? The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan announced that TDP and Tyler Kroft got injured in this last game. Tyler Kroft suffered an MCL sprain. Looks like he's going to miss a couple weeks. Now, luckily, it's an MCL sprain and not a tear, so that's very good. It's just going to be a few weeks. And kind of the same thing with Ty Davis-Price. He had a high ankle sprain. He'll be missing a few weeks, and apparently he didn't even know that he got injured during the game. He kept playing, and I don't even know if he knows when he got injured, but he probably got like like your ankle kind of hurts and you kind of just walk it off. He probably had that type of thing going on throughout the game. Didn't even realize the severity of it until afterwards, and he told the training staff. So he'll be missing a few weeks, but some of the good news out of that, to look on the bright side, is we get to see Jordan Mason. They call him JP now. I don't know where that came from all of a sudden. They're changing up names on us. So, yeah, they're calling Jordan Mason JP. And there was a lot of talk about him during training camp, preseason, all that stuff, how explosive he looks. He looks really good with this offense. So I've been pretty anxious to see what we've got in Jordan Mason. A lot of people were picking him over TDP to make this team. And, of course, they both made it. But if they're picking Jordan Mason over TDP, I want to see what he's got. And we're going to get that chance. It's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jordan Mason. And it's pretty crazy, man. Like I was saying from the beginning, we should keep 5 running backs. We already know how this team goes through running backs on a yearly basis. They just over and over again, it's the same injury bug. And sure enough, Elijah Mitchell is out. TDP is out. We're down to just Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jordan Mason. And if one of them gets hurt, then what? I know we brought in Marlon Mack and some other guys to work out and stuff like that. Marlon Mack signed to the practice squad. So that's encouraging for him to be learning the offense right now and kind of getting his feet under him as far as learning the offense. But it would have been nice to have somebody like Jermichael Hasty, of course, like I talked about before, somebody who's been in this offense for a long time. So unfortunate, but oh well, man, can't turn the clock. If we could, definitely would turn the clock on that Trey Lance injury first and foremost, as far as the 49ers go. Then some other news, of course, I'm sure you guys all heard. Dre Greenlaw, our linebacker, opposite of Fred Warner, got a 2-year extension with $10 million guaranteed, $19 million he can make overall with incentives and all that type of stuff. So good for him, man. That's very great. I'm surprised he got signed so soon, but I've been saying since the offseason, I would like to see the 49ers sign some of these guys early in the season instead of waiting till later on to where they kind of have I sound kind of messed up on this, I guess, but it's just because I understand the salary cap and what's smarter for the team overall. So if you want to save yourself some money on these players, it's typically better to sign them earlier, kind of like the type of stuff we saw when Trent Baalke was here. He would try to get guys signed earlier, get those contracts signed sooner before, like last year, try and get Debo signed before he had a super breakout year like that, more towards the end of the season. Then, of course, after that, Debo Samuel was going to want more money, right? And that's kind of how this whole thing plays out. So good to see Dre Greenlaw get signed early. I hope that means that we're still going to sign Azeez Al-Shaair because I really like him, man. That 1-2-3 punch with Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shaair. There's some badass linebackers we got, man. And Greenlaw and Al-Shaair, they tend to get hurt a lot. So it's usually good to have one when the other one is hurt. And it's kind of weird because whenever one's healthy, the other one's hurt, and vice versa. Whenever the other one gets healthy, the other one tends to get hurt. So it's good to have those guys kind of alternating, coming back, being healthy and all that stuff. And even when Fred Warner, he hasn't missed very much. I think he's only missed one game in his career in the NFL. So very good, very stable guy for us. Gotta love that, man. The best ability is availability, right? As far as the NFL is concerned, of course. So those two guys have been available whenever the 49ers needed them, and Fred Warner was out as well. But yeah, so he's signed. Hopefully we get Alshire signed. If not, then maybe we could get something for him in a trade. I mean, I know we can. A lot of teams in the league are looking at the 49ers linebacker room and kind of drooling over it. So I'm sure there's some people ready to trade for Alshire, man. And yeah, I kind of wanted to go off the rip with this one, but it definitely helps when you got more people in here talking and stuff like that. I want to know what you guys want to talk about when it comes to all this stuff. But I guess another thing I can tap into while I wait for somebody to kind of join in, ask questions, or bring up a topic. I'll talk about this real quick. You guys will see it kind of scrolling along the bottom here if you guys want to read it. It's a Kyle Shanahan quote from a year ago in reference to Trey Lance. And the quote goes like this. This is what he said a year ago to Eddie Werder, I think it was. And he says, he's not Lamar Jackson. Trey Lance is a quarterback who has the ability to run, but to just line him up and run him, the game's too physical. Oh, yeah, I really wish you would have thought about that before you fucking ran him. God damn it. I've been saying this all offseason. I've been saying this since last year. I've been trying to get this out there to as many 49er fans as I could. I know it's been talked about on other channels, but I've dude, I'm not an NFL coach. I understand that. I know a lot about the game. I've played the game. I watch the game. I love the game. And so I'm not no dumbass when it comes to this stuff. And I've seen this as a guy who's not an NFL coach in any shape or form, not even a college coach. I'm not even on the spectrum of coaches. But for me to see this just as a fan, this is ridiculous that Kyle Shanahan talks about it, and 1 year later, this is exactly how he gets his starting quarterback injured, taken out, man. This is life-altering stuff. This could definitely be life-altering. Now, I'm glad that we have hope in the reports that have come out about the successful surgery and that Trey Lance should be back next year, at least. Really wish it would have been back this year. But like you see guys like Dak Prescott, who had a similar injury and came back. And I know he got injured again this year. But the year before last year, he had that same kind of ankle injury. And not the same, but similar. I think it was actually a little more severe than what Trey Lance had. So for him to come back and look pretty good, very good last year for his team, I believe the Cowboys, from what I remember, the Cowboys were number one in offense last year. Now we whooped their ass. But to be fair, as far as and you know what, actually, if we're talking about being fair as well, they had like the easiest schedule out of everybody as well. So it's not saying too much about the Cowboys, but I mean, still, this is the NFL. Any given Sunday, any team could win. And at the end of the day, all these guys are NFL players. So they're the best of the best from around the world, right? So not any team is a slouch. Not any team is a given. So for the Cowboys to come back with Dak Prescott and his year back from injury, similar to what Trey Lance just had, it gives hope. Definitely gives hope for Trey Lance's future and what we can see. Hopefully, I hope that's the way it works out. But it really pisses me off how I'm a nobody when it comes to the NFL, and Kyle Shanahan is quoted here as talking about it, and still, this is how he gets his quarterback injured. So it's pretty ridiculous stuff, man. I don't know if I can even really say enough about it. I'm gonna read it to you guys again. He is not Lamar Jackson. Trey is a quarterback who has the ability to run, but to just line him up and run him, the game's too physical. Dude, look what you said, man. And look exactly how you used him. We all saw the outcome of Trey Lance in the Cardinals game. He got injured. You basically had the same game plan against the Cardinals as you did against these Seahawks just yesterday. Trey Lance got injured in that game. You got him injured twice last year. Well, no, actually, I'll say once because actually the preseason one, I can't count that against Kyle Shanahan. But the one against the Cardinals, he was running him like a damn fullback. And he's quoted here as saying, that's not smart, basically, right? It's too physical of a sport, too physical of a league in the NFL. And he does that against the Seahawks. He did that against the Bears as well. And if you guys haven't watched my other videos, I've been saying, now I wish I could get these videos out there more, but I've been saying quarterback powers is not the way, man. A lot of these other guys, and Kyle Shanahan seemed really irked to be asked about it. And what do you expect, man? You brought it upon yourself. This comes with the territory. You went against your own wisdom. And who knows what your dad was saying about this? Who knows what your dad was thinking about this? Mike Shanahan? Come on, dude. You've been using Trey Lance like a fullback. What do you expect to happen? Look how close Kyle Juszczyk was getting close to injury as well yesterday. He had 2 runs on the goal line with bodies piled on top of him. I was a little worried when I saw not only Garoppolo used like a fullback, but Kyle Juszczyk used like a fullback. He's a fullback, but, it's very physical. And I was worried about those 2 guys as well. We just saw what happened to Trey Lance. Kyle Juszczyk, I think he's a little more accustomed to the physicality, but still, he's under a pile of bodies. You never know in what condition he's in, really, until those bodies get off of him and you get to see him getting up off the field. So there's a little moment of panic. Same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo, where you wonder, hey, man, is this happening again in this game? Same thing in one game. Crazy stuff, man. Pretty ridiculous. And I really hope they're a lot smarter in the way they use Jimmy Garoppolo. I know that with Jimmy Garoppolo, when you do quarterback powers and stuff like that with him, catches the defense more off guard because they're really not expecting it. But remember, you're still putting him in that position to get injured. So you really got to weigh your risk and reward with that stuff, man. If we lose Jimmy Garoppolo, we have some promise in Brock Purdy. But how much promise, man? He hasn't played against starters. So better start checking the mirror, Kyle Shanahan. And real quick, if you guys are joining in, first of all, I appreciate you for checking this video out. Especially if you guys participate, man, please throw some comments down. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I really want to know. Helps fuel the conversation. And as well as give me like a different perspective too, right? I try to soak in as much 49ers knowledge as I can, but from different perspectives, not just one source, because I want to see it from all aspects to kind of mold my conclusion, right? That type of stuff. But if you guys are in this video, please like this video, please. I tend to always see more views than likes on my videos, and I would really appreciate if you guys could throw me a like, subscribe, please. Would really help out. If I can one day, I would love to be able to do this full time. I would love to be a 49er fan that gets to go to training camp and report from there. Uh, it's always kind of been a dream of mine. And yeah, I would rather do this full time than have to bust my ass at a physical labor job or something like that, which I'm doing both right now. I'm trying to do this as best as I can with working full time, doing physical labor and stuff like that as well. The most I can do with what I've got. So for now, and hopefully at some point, this starts to lean towards me diving into this more, having more time for this, and shying away from the 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 other side of the working world, I guess you could say. So yeah, all that stuff, likes, comments, subscriptions, that all ties into the YouTube formula, to help me get more views, to help me get more subscriptions and more playtime, right? hopefully get paid a little bit too. That'd be nice. Of course, help me get some couple more 49ers jerseys, couple more get a steak on game day. That'd be nice. But yeah, if you guys are watching this video, I appreciate you as it is already. I would just appreciate more if you guys could do that for me greatly. I would really greatly appreciate it. So let me see, what else do I got here? I want to know what you guys think about this real quick, because the Rams, they were beating the Falcons yesterday in pretty good fashion, right? Then they were starting to let the Falcons come back a little bit, and the Rams also looked pretty ugly in last week's season opener against the Bills. Now, granted, it was the Bills. The Bills are a great team, but the Rams got 3 turnovers off of the Bills, and they could not capitalize at all. They couldn't win the game. They couldn't do anything really. I forget what the score was, but it was pretty crazy. They got their asses whooped. And they got 3 turnovers in their favor. You give the 49ers that. I don't think it's going to be an easy game for the Bills. Give us 3 turnovers. Shit. Let me find out. So what I want to know from you guys, because a lot of people are putting they've put coming into the season the Rams as like the top NFC contender for the Super Bowl this year. A lot of people put the 49ers up there as well. I think 49ers were number 3 behind maybe the Packers. I mean, not the Packers, the Buccaneers. Either or. It depends who you ask, of course, right? But a lot of people put the Rams, they're supposed to be the Super Bowl winners, whatever. They got lucky. And they don't have as much depth as they did last year. And they're not looking as good as they kind of did last year. I don't think they looked as great as a lot of people say they did last year. I think a lot of things kind of slid their way, which typically has to happen. And I'm not going to say that it didn't happen for the 49ers as well, right? That's kind of how the Super Bowl road to the Super Bowl goes every year. The teams that get there aren't always the best teams. It's like teams that are really good, but things kind of go in your favor as well. Because again, any given Sunday, right? Now, I wonder sometimes, I was like, all these other sports that have series, like in the championship, the World Series, stuff like that, multiple games for the championship. It'd be pretty cool to see if the NFL could split the Super Bowl up into a few games and make it best out of 3 or something like that. Imagine that. Have like a Super Bowl season, series 1. What is it? Game 1 of the series. And maybe wait like a week or 2, play another game. 2 Super Bowl teams, right? Game 2, and then game 3, best out of 3. If it's a tie, game 3 is a tiebreaker. Then you definitely can't have ties in the game, right? It's like overtime. Maybe first team to score. I don't know. It'd be interesting though. I wonder about that. I can't help it. Sorry, guys. I might be tripping. But anyways, back to my other question. The Rams. So in my eyes, the Rams have actually taken a step back, and I know a lot of other people think this as well. I haven't really heard them say it in these words, but I can hear the way that some people talk about the Rams, and they see it too. They see what I'm seeing. Pretty sloppy play from the Rams, and I feel like the 49ers now. The whole Trey Lance thing, I'm gonna try and push that out the door a little bit because I still feel whether it was Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, I think this team as a whole has taken a step forward. Now the offensive line has been playing pretty good thus far, but we still have a lot of football to play. It seems like they're actually getting better, little by little, and that's great to see, man. Guys that are going to learn and progress, going forward. The snowball effect, it's going to build up, and it's going to make this team. Is going to make this team very worrisome for somebody else to play, right? So I'm glad to see the offensive line doing pretty good. Um, I haven't really gotten to study the film, but just off what I see in my basically initial reaction to all that stuff, everything's looking pretty good. Especially, um, I know Trey Lance has his gifts to add to this offense, but with Jimmy Garoppolo's quick release, it should help the offensive line with having to hold their blocks for a shorter amount of time. And not only that, um, Jimmy Garoppolo is typically more stationary than Trey Lance. He'll, for the most part, stay in the pocket. It's very rare that we see him roll out. It reminds me of Ludacris, the roll out. But yeah, it's very rare that we see Jimmy Garoppolo roll out of the pocket, right? And so with the quarterback that runs out of the pocket, typically the offensive linemen have their backs to the quarterback. So they don't know where the quarterback is or going. So when a defensive end turns to chase a quarterback out of the pocket, you get a lot of holding calls, right? So that kind of helps the offensive line that hasn't had as much practice with Trey Lance as they. Well, you know what? Actually, I don't know. I can't really say that because a lot of these guys are like rookies and newcomers to the 49ers. Maybe besides just McGlinchey and Trent Williams, the rest of the guys. While Brunskill, he's another guy, but he's been injured uh, most of the time for the past few weeks. So uh, just a more stationary quarterback is like easier to block for than a mobile quarterback typically. So having Jimmy Garoppolo in there kind of helps the offensive line out with his quick release, and he will kind of stay in the pocket and throw from there typically. So they don't have to worry about where he's at. They can kind of just be rest assured a little bit that he's right behind them, and hopefully they hold their blocks. But yeah, they're doing really good, man. I'm happy for them. I'm glad. Happy for us as 49er fans because that was a big question coming in. Now they've looked good so far. We've only had 2 games, but hey, man, 2 for 2 in the rain. Good stuff so far. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for protecting our quarterbacks for the most part. Kyle Shanahan, not so much. We need to have a little talk, bro. Little talk. It was good to see all the chemistry that that Jimmy Garoppolo and Brandon Ayuk are having now. That's really nice to see because it seems like they've kind of had their differences in the past, right? Where Brandon Ayuk didn't feel like he was getting the ball enough and he was wide open. Sorry if you guys could hear that. My kids are home now, so they're running around being crazy. Yeah. But yeah, man, glad to see that stuff with Jimmy Garoppolo, Brandon Ayuk. And I have a lot of stuff to talk about, but I would rather some people join in, would be nice. So I might just cut this video off and wait till I got some people on the next video or something. Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about this a little bit. Well, I'll expand on the Garoppolo Brandon Ayuk chemistry a little bit more, because in the game yesterday, see, Garoppolo didn't play the whole game, right? He got in there like in the second quarter. Um, so that's a quarter taken out of the numbers that could have been possible for the whole game, right? So Jimmy Garoppolo gets in there. First throw, very first throw was to Brandon Ayuk. And I think the same was actually true for Trey Lance. As soon as Trey Lance started the game, his first pass was to Brandon Ayuk. Not the very first play, but the very first passing play was to Brandon Ayuk. Now, what I didn't like about what I saw from Lance on that play, on his pass to Ayuk on the first one, was he stared down Brandon Ayuk. I could see it on the TV, and this was live. I noticed it right away. Now, luckily, the corners of the Seahawks' defense, they were playing off coverage, so they kind of had that time. They had a little time to get that ball there, but that defensive player almost still made a play. The cornerback for the Seahawks, he almost still made a play on Brandon Ayuk and uh, almost shut the play down. But what I love about Brandon Ayuk is he's really shifty and nimble, and so he ended up making a move and getting a lot of yardage on the play. And he's a yak guy too, man. I don't understand why Brandon Ayuk isn't like talked about more when it comes to yak. That guy's a badass, dude. Uh, he was one of the guys carrying this team in 2020 when was it? Yeah, 2020 when everybody was getting hurt. Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo, all those guys were hurt. Hella guys were hurt that year. Brandon Ayuk was like that go-to guy. I don't remember what his numbers were, but just like that play in the Eagles game, for one, when he jumps over that guy, they need it. I'm glad to see Brandon Ayuk getting more touches because he is the more versatile wide receiver in my eyes. He can do uh, most of and more than Debo Samuel could do in the receiving game for the most part. I think the only thing he can't do really that Debo Samuel is better at, not that Brandon Ayuk can't do it, because I know he's put some muscle on too since he's gotten here, but Debo Samuel just has more of that physical game to himself, to where he'll run right through guys. And we saw it in the first touchdown of the Chicago Bears game, right? Debo Samuel, he has a guy on his back and still runs over a guy right in front of him to get into the end zone. It's stuff like that. It's George Kittle type stuff. I mean, depending who you ask, that's either Debo Samuel type stuff, George Kittle type stuff. But George Kittle was here first, so I'll just say George Kittle stuff for that reason, because he's been here longer. So it's like reminiscent of George Kittle is yak. But yeah, man, all these guys are very good at yak, yards after the catch. If you don't know what I'm referring to as far as yak. So glad to see Brandon Ayuk having that chemistry with Jimmy G now. And it's super crazy to see Jimmy G having that chemistry coming off the bench and not really practicing this offseason at all. That's crazy. He's just coming back from surgery, throwing to a couple staff members and water boys and stuff like that. He comes out and plays like he never missed a beat. Like he's been here all along. For real though. It's cool because if he's doing that in his very first game back after basically not doing anything for like 6 months or whatever it is, imagine what he can do if he actually busts his ass. Like, it doesn't seem like Jimmy Garoppolo has really put in the work in past seasons, especially in the offseason. If he really puts in the work to try and win this job back. Like not just be the starting quarterback for this year, because that's basically a given. Jimmy Garoppolo's been given back that role by default. But if he tries to actually win his job back and be the 49ers' future starting quarterback for years to come, if he busts his ass, I would love to see what he can progress into. I know, like, we've seen this pretty much the same thing from him every year, but you can't really say that at the same time. I feel like we saw a different Jimmy Garoppolo in 2017. Then, of course, he gets hurt 2018. We don't really get to see him. He wasn't really playing how he was in 2017 already in that short span, though. But comes back in 2019. He does a lot of really good things, but he was wearing a knee brace, a lot more reluctant to run the ball. And he did good things, but he wasn't the type of quarterback that could put the team on his back and win games. I know a lot of people point to that 49ers versus Saints game. You can't really say that. If you guys really go back and watch the game, Garoppolo wasn't the reason we won that game at all. We literally had to have all these trick plays like Emmanuel Sanders running out of the backfield and throwing a touchdown pass. Emmanuel Sanders, a wide receiver, threw the touchdown pass. It wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo just putting the team on his back and winning this game. It wasn't. And a lot of people like to talk like it was. Go back and watch the game. He did a lot of very good things. And we did partially win because of him. But that's one damn game out of how many seasons? Look at when it comes to the playoffs, especially. Jimmy Garoppolo is so terrible in the playoffs for whatever reason. And it's weird because for me, I feel like maybe during the stretch of a game, he shows that he can show flashes of eliteness, and then he shows these flashes of boneheadedness where he just makes these boneheaded mistakes, right? But when it comes to that 2-minute drill where we have 2 minutes, must-win game or must-win moment with just a couple minutes left or a minute left or whatever, he seems to be like the most clutch quarterback when it comes to that type of stuff for whatever reason. But when it comes to the playoffs, when it's like a similar type of atmosphere, he just does not show up, really. It's crazy. I don't understand. He's like two different people. It's completely weird. So hopefully he puts in the work this season, throughout the season, little by little, and builds and builds and builds and shows us what he can do when he busts his ass. I know a lot of people, like in the locker room, talk about how he has some of the greatest work ethic, but we haven't seen it. And if he does, I don't know if we've really seen improvement from Jimmy Garoppolo. Really, I've seen maybe a decline if in last year, a little bit in 2019 during the playoffs. So I hope he can fix a lot of that stuff, man. And I'm glad his shoulder's looking good. Looks like he's taking deeper shots, so that's great. Stretch the field, make it harder for defenses. And okay, actually, this kind of leads into another thing I wanted to talk about you guys probably noticed Danny Gray. So I know a lot of people think that Danny Gray is not going to get any touches now that Jimmy Garoppolo's the quarterback again. Seems like a deep threat like Danny Gray is probably not going to get those touches anymore, right? Because he doesn't have Trey Lance to throw him the ball. And Trey Lance throws a lot deeper passes than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I saw, now I don't know the reason for this, just for conversation's sake, I guess. I noticed because Jimmy Garoppolo missed Danny Gray on the one pass he would have had. Danny Gray was running like a trail route across the field, very shallow route. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo was kind of on the move as well. kind of following him in a way. And Jimmy Garoppolo passes it to him, and they missed. They didn't link up on that pass. And Danny Gray went to the sideline looking super pissed off. Now, I don't know if he was mad at himself. I don't know what he was mad about. But you could definitely speculate that it's because he's not getting any catches and he's pissed off that Garoppolo's a quarterback now. Who knows? The world may never know. But, there's a lot more I want to talk about. I might save it for tomorrow. I got my kids crying in the background and stuff like that. I know you guys don't want to hear that. But if you guys tuned in, I appreciate you. I guess I'll just kind of roll these topics into tomorrow. But like I said, you guys that do tune in, I appreciate you. Join me tomorrow, especially if you guys could join me live tomorrow. That would be great. Add to the conversation. Let's get this thing rolling, man. We're in the regular season now. Football season's here. Like, we need to be pumped up about this, man. Even though we lost Trey Lance, we're still 49er fans, and we need to be rooting for whoever's quarterback, right? Whoever's playing, that's our guy, regardless. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. You guys take care. Have a good night, good morning, whatever, whenever you watch this. You guys take care. Subscribe, please. Like the video, please. Subscribe. Turn on the notification, the bell on the side of the subscribe button. There's a bell for all notifications. Click on that, please. You guys take care. Yeah.